So I have mixed feelings about this. I'm at the Master Gardener's demo garden here, and you know, I see things I hate. I hate this leaf. I hate this leaf, and I hate all these guys here. The only good thing about this is I see it in their garden, and they're amazing gardeners. I see it in my garden all the time, and I'm beginning to get worried about the winter. So I'm talking to David Cook here, our Ag Extension agent, about the winter. It was really warm in the past, and I don't think my bugs are getting killed. So what am I going to do about this, David?
Well, I've never seen this side of you come out, but it will bring out, our warmer weather has brought out an extended season with insects. So insects relate to temperature. It speeds up their life cycle. And it's probably going to see more generations of insects that generally might have a single generation. So with what you have in your hands right here, these little squash bug eggs, they're going to continue probably later on in the season. So what we need to do is think about that insects issues are going to linger on further into the growing season than normally we would expect. Last December we had temperatures in the 70s. Now, what will change that is when the low light conditions come in, days get shorter, and a little bit cooler weather come in. These annual vegetable plants for growing for food are going to start dying out. So the food necessities for these pests are going to go away. But will the pests go away? No. They're still going to be in the immediate area.
Well, Okay, so in the fall, what I usually do with my raised beds and my other beds is I take off all the stuff that's died, maybe compost it, and then I throw some leaves on top of the bed and I'm done.
Okay, well, good point you're doing. Something we could do further. These insects that we're talking about, which eat up our plants, they don't die during the wintertime. They stay as an adult stage, except for the moths. Now, moths will actually pupate, but they'll crawl down actually as a caterpillar into the soil in the immediate area. They want to fly off from that area because next year they know they're going to have food. So they will create a pupa case, what I have right here, and this will overwinter just below your feet in the soil. And it could do it in a raised bed garden. So what you want to do is after you remove all that plant debris, that provides habitat and housing for these other true bugs and beetles that crawl in that dead plant material. Remove that. Now, if you want to compost it, that's excellent. But if you want to kill the insects in your compost, you've got to make sure that compost reaches the right temperature. It's really got to get hot, or they're going to overwinter in your compost bin. So then you might bring your compost back next year into your garden and then relocate those pests for your next season. Now, a good trick to do is, as you put down leaf litter to enhance the fertility of the garden for next year, look at the weather forecast when they're going to predict a hard frost or a freeze. Then, if you come in with a shovel or a rake and with your raised beds and move about 6 inches of soil up, disturb it, turn it over, that cold weather can actually kill the stages that are overwintering because they can't acclimate to a sudden drop in temperature. So if you just leave the soil without disturbing it, the insects are still going to overwinter in it. But if you can disturb the soil, bring them up to the top, birds are still looking for food during the wintertime. They'll come down and try to find these. The little creatures might find them too. The weather may kill them. So expose them to harsh elements. But these are all cultural, and that's what I like to enforce instead of going out and grabbing a pesticide right away. Do what Mother Nature does. She didn't spray anything. Work with her, work with the temperatures, watch the weather, and you'll reduce pest pressure next year for sure.
All right, I guess there's some really smart things I can do, like maybe I don't need all of the squash bug infested squash plants in my compost bin. Maybe those are things I'm just going to choose to throw away or put in a black plastic bag and let them heat up. Now, what about cover crops though? How do I deal with cover crops while I'm trying to stir up the soil periodically in the winter?
Okay, if what I would do for cover crops, before I plant them, I would probably do the tilling first. Now, if you get them planted early, you might want to wait to do early spring, late winter tillage when you're letting those cover crops die back, cut the cover crops back, lets them enhance the fertility of the soil. Right over here, this little plant we call buckwheat, and as a cover crop, that actually is kind of a summer cover crop. and that will actually bring in beneficial insects. That's another way to manage pests toward the late season. Have a plant that attracts the beneficial insects and predators that will feed on the pests, the last pests of the season. So a little more work, but in the end it pays off and great dividends.
Well, it certainly seems like it, and I have to say for all of the pests that I have been seeing lately, and I certainly saw more this year, especially early in the year as they came out, it sounds like this is greatly worth it for next year. Now, one other thing that I've noticed, you keep saying that nature intervenes. Well, early spring, oftentimes I'll find frogs overwintering in my garden.
Yeah, if you can provide housing, even for reptiles and amphibians, a little clay pot turned over with a little area cut out of it, that will provide habitat for frogs and a lot of little lizards and skinks that are basically insect feeders. So if you provide habitat, this is what creatures look for first. If they're comfortable in an area, then they look for food. Well, food with insects is all around us on this planet. So also another good idea is to build a little perch so birds can rest and look at your garden. Mockingbirds are going to be nesting in shrubs and trees, but bluebirds, get a bluebird house. They're insect feeders, sole diet of insects. And so they will work your garden, and in our demo garden here for the Master Gardeners, we have trellises and things, and if I come out here during the week, I can see mockingbirds and bluebirds. They're watching that, and they can spot movement of something we wouldn't even see. So use again frogs, lizards, and birds to enhance your garden. Pest control, Mother Nature's way.
Well, it sounds like a lot of work on our part, but well worth it. Yeah. And certainly in the fall and the early winter, it's nice and cool. It's time to be out in the garden. We're really happy to stay in the garden as long as we can. So with some of your tips and with Mother Nature's help, it sounds like this winter we have a plan to get rid of the bugs in our garden, hopefully for the spring.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.